Mesmerized, How Benjamin Franklin Solved a Mystery That Baffled All of France. Written by Mara Rockliff, illustrated by Iacopo Bruno. "1776. While the American Revolution raged at home, Benjamin Franklin sailed to France. His goal? To charm young King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette. Ben wanted them to send money and soldiers to America. The ragged, hungry revolutionaries needed France's help. Without it, they might lose the war. The King and Queen of France were rich and powerful, but it turned out that they needed Ben's help too. The day Ben Franklin first set foot in Paris, France, he found the city all abuzz. Everyone was talking about something new, remarkable, thrilling, and strange. Something called science. Parisians giggled at a gas that nobody could see until it went up in flames. Voila! They gasped at a balloon that floated high above the rooftops carrying a duck, a rooster, and a very nervous sheep. Ooh la la! And they went absolutely gaga over an American in a peculiar fur hat, because everyone had heard about Ben Franklin's famous kite experiment, which showed that lightning was the same as electricity. The scientific method. Ben observed lightning flashing across the sky. He hypothesized, made a thoughtful guess, that it was electrical. He then tested his guess by flying a kite during a thunderstorm. The kite had a metal wire at the top to attract lightning. The lightning ran down the kite's wet stream into a metal key where it made sparks, supporting Ben's hypothesis that it was electricity. But soon all Paris was abuzz about somebody new, someone remarkable, thrilling, and definitely strange. Someone called Dr. Mesmer. Dr. Mesmer was as different from Ben Franklin as a fancy later tart was from a homemade apple pie, where Ben was plain and simple. Dr. Mesmer was elegant and mysterious. He wore a powdered wig and a fine coat of purple silk. He carried an iron wand, and he claimed to have discovered an astonishing new force. Like a gas, this force could not be seen or touched. Like electricity, it held great power. Like the hot air balloon, it made what seemed impossible come true. Dr. Mesmer said this force streamed from the stars and flowed into his wand. When he stared into his patient's eyes and waved the wands, things happened. Women swooned, men sobbed, children fell down into fits. Dr. Mesmer could make the same glass of water taste like 20 different things. If he told a patient to taste strawberries, the patient tasted strawberries. Merci. If he told the patient to taste vinegar, the patient tasted vinegar. Pfft. Dr. Mesmer said his force helped people who were sick. What kind of sickness? Any kind. Soon, everybody wanted to be mesmerized. Dukes and countesses arrived in carriages to Dr. Mesmer's door. They disappeared into a room hidden behind heavy drapes covered with signs and symbols. Hours passed. At last they came out and announced that they were cured. Bankers dropped their money bags. Lawyers flung down their books. Priests slipped away from their pulpits. Everybody crowded into Dr. Mesmer's darkened room. He agreed to share his secrets, for the sake of science, and 100 gold louis apiece. Everyone agreed that Dr. Mesmer's force was the most thrilling, most remarkable, and strangest thing that science had discovered yet. Well, not quite everyone. Doctors were furious. Their patients didn't care about regular medicine anymore. All they wanted was a wave of Dr. Mesmer's wands. The doctors griped, and groused, and fussed, and fumed. Dr. Mesmer's force was not like electricity, a gas, or the hot air balloon, they told the king. Non? Enchanté. The reason nobody could see or touch it wasn't there. The king was in a quandary. Were the doctors simply peeved about losing their patients? Or was it true? Could all of Paris have been fooled, even the queen? The king didn't know what to think, but he knew whom to ask. Who else but Ben Franklin? Ben said he needed to see for himself what Dr. Mesmer's force could do. Impossible! I can do it, Dr. Mesmer. Merci beaucoup, Charles. Ben watched a group of patients being mesmerized by Dr. Mesmer's helper, Charles. They gasped and groaned, twitched and trembled, even fell down in a faint. Then it was Ben Franklin's turn. He didn't gasp and groan or twitch and tremble, and he didn't faint. In fact, he didn't feel a thing. The scientific method. Ben observed the difference between the patient's reactions and his own. Dr. Mesmer said that l'Américain must be special. The force didn't work on him. Ben had a different idea. What if the force was not in Dr. Mesmer's wand, but in the patient's mind? Those patients believed the force was real. They expected to tremble and twitch, to gasp and to groan, and to feel better. So they did. The scientific method. Ben hypothesized that what the patients felt was caused by their own minds, not by an invisible force. But how could Ben be sure? He watched another patient being mesmerized. Charles waved his fingers near her face, and she screamed. She said she felt a burning flame. He never touched her, but wherever his hand moved, that's where she felt the same fiery heat. Ben asked her to try it once again, blindfolded. When Charles waved his finger near her stomach, the patient cried out in pain. She said that she felt the heat in her ear. When Charles moved behind her back, the woman shrieked that she felt burning in her leg. Ben blindfolded another patient. Ben told him that he was being mesmerized. The patient said he felt it. Charles was not even in the room. Then Charles came back into the room. The patient didn't know he was there. Charles stared at him. He waved his fingers. He pointed his wand. This time, the patient didn't feel a thing. The scientific method. Ben tested his hypothesis by blindfolding his patients. Ben tested patient after patient, but it was always the same. If the patient expected and believed something would happen, something did, even without the force. If the patient did not expect anything to happen, nothing did, even with the force. The scientific method. The test results supported Ben's hypothesis that the so-called force did not exist. Ben went back to the king and told him what he'd seen. Soon all of Paris was abuzz again. Dr. Mesmer took his wand and fled. Not long after, Ben set sail. Bon voyage! With the help from France, the revolution had been won. Now he needed to get to work on building a new nation, the United States. Of course, he planned to find a little time for science, too. Ben's blind test was such a good idea that is still in use. Before a new medicine or treatment is approved, two groups of patients try it out. One group gets the real medicine. The other gets a fake, called a placebo. The patients aren't blindfolded, but they are blind in a sense because they don't know if the medicine they took is real or fake. That way, if the group that takes the real medicine does better than the placebo group, we can be sure that the difference is due to the medicine itself, not what the patients may have expected or believed. But what about the people who feel better after taking a placebo? Think of Dr. Mesmer's patients. Their feelings were real, even if the force supposed to be at work wasn't. And while not all of them recovered from their illness, many did. Although he never realized it, Dr. Mesmer had made an important discovery after all: the placebo effect. Sometimes a treatment works simply because people expect it to. Belief can be a powerful medicine, and Dr. Mesmer helped his patients to believe. When he brought them into a dark, quiet room, stared into their eyes, and waved his wand, he put them in a highly focused state in which many people tend to believe and do whatever they are told. Today, this state is called hypnosis, but we still use the word mesmerized when somebody seems to be in a trance. For instance, you might be so mesmerized by a cartoon that you didn't hear your name when it's called. Scientists are still learning about hypnosis, the placebo effect, and many other ways our minds can help us heal. That would be no surprise to Ben Franklin. He knew that the mind could do amazing things, such as using the scientific method to find out the truth. Finn.